It's 10 o'clock, 10:30 in fact here in Australia. It's 8:30 in the morning in Florida. It's 5:30 in the afternoon in Pakistan. And this is a very important show about the latest information on Imran Khan. And what's happening over there. I'm going to bring Simon in a moment. We're also going to cover, time permitting, it's going to be a strict 25-minute show to get everyone up and running and share it over the weekend. But we're also going to talk about the border crisis that's it's actually erupting right now in the United States. And if we have time, I just want to get Simon's comments on the rumours going around about Twitter and their new CEO. That's a really interesting one that people will have a lot of questions about. But if you're in Pakistan, the internet is still out. So if you're watching from Australia or somewhere else in the world and you can share this information to get the latest information to family in Pakistan to understand what's going on, that would be really important. But this is an important update on Imran Khan that international media is ignoring and is under-reporting if they are touching it at all. We are a Western news service based in Australia and the United States, providing continuous reporting on the arrest of Imran Khan. Imran is accused of horrific crimes. This started after he accused a sitting military major general also of the most serious crime of attempting to kill Imran Khan. Imran Khan was twice shot in the leg only recently. Imran went to the police to report this crime and was stopped from doing so. And ever since then, they have been after him with over 100 charges being laid against Imran. It is therefore very important to provide accurate information in as much detail as possible so that the historic record is recorded. The arrest of former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan, also its former cricket captain, the great all-rounder, a top-order batsman and opening fast swing bowler, one of the true greats of the game. He's a god in his own country, but politics in Pakistan is also known to be corrupt. Next to only one other nation who shall remain nameless. What you will hear and see today will inform you, but will also shock you what you're going to hear. The actions and behaviour of Pakistani authority is now in plain sight, and you will see it. You will learn how they openly break the rules to suit themselves and how they can do this in order to prosecute their opponent. There must be scrutiny, and this is World Series news. And I'm going to bring Simon in, and then we're going to set the scene. Simon, it is quite frightening, really, if you're in Imran Khan right now. Welcome.
Hello there. It's a pleasure to be with you. Been up most of the night, obviously, as Pakistan are 9 hours ahead of me and 4 or 5 hours behind you. So if you want to go ahead and play that clip, that's going to we hope not come true to life, but it certainly seems to be appropriate.
Here we go. That looks like where Imran is going to have to hit the court steps, Simon, if anything's going to save him at this point.
So just to put people in context there, the point there was not only a lot of police officers trying to stop Clint Eastwood getting his witness to court, but the jurisdiction changed when he went from the city streets to the steps of the courthouse, which is why he crashed the coach onto the steps. And Imran Khan was taken from his protective custody to the Islamabad High Court. He got there late again, like he got to the Supreme Court late yesterday. Then the journalists, who were the only people allowed into the courtroom, along with the government and Mr. Khan's lawyers, were asking him questions after they had actually had to move courtroom twice because one courtroom was too small. They went to another courtroom It turned out the doors couldn't be locked. So then they went to another courtroom, right? And then chants broke out, Imran Khan, Imran Khan, Imran Khan. They were coming right up against the afternoon prayers, and the justices said that it was unacceptable that people were disrupting the court by chanting his name. Though they didn't blame him; he didn't stand up and kind of incite the crowd. So they said that because it was coming up to prayer time, that they were going to adjourn. So there was a break for prayers. Then everyone came back. Now, in the same courthouse, but before he had even arrived, in another case, his lawyers managed to get the court to issue a stay on the proceedings related to what is called in Pakistan the Toshkhana case. And that is relatively petty. And it relates to him having received official gifts whilst he was prime minister. And then the allegation is that in the case, I think, of a necklace and an expensive watch, instead of them being put in a museum or the state treasury, as is often the case in most countries, like when you're given a gift in an official capacity, you don't own it, it becomes the property of the state. Yes. And it normally gets put on display, as opposed to you wandering around like wearing the Rolex you've been given, or carrying the bejeweled sword that the Saudis have given you or something. So the allegation is that he didn't do that, and that the aide sold them for cash. Anyway, so a stay has been put on that case. Now, the issue that was here was bail in relation to some of these other 100+ cases that are now outstanding against him, that was due to have been decided, but he got arrested on Wednesday when they smashed into the courthouse complex.
Yep.
Okay. So they had that issue, and then they also had what to do about his situation having been arrested in relation to the new case, which involves a lot of money. Not that he's alleged to have stolen all of that money, but that a number of people are alleged to have taken a percentage of it, and that in theory was used to build a university. And that has links to the United Kingdom, where money was taken off a Pakistani businessman, sent to the Pakistani government, but they gave most of that money back to the businessman in Pakistan. And Britain was complaining about that, saying that they wouldn't have given it back to the Pakistan government if they thought that they were going to give it back to the businessman because they thought he was a crook. Okay. So a lot of things have been happening during the night. So two women, including the senior vice president of his party, she is called Shireen Mazari. She's very, very popular, excellent on media. An elderly lady. Her home was broken into at 3 a.m. by plainclothes police officers who arrested her. Okay. Now, before that, another lady who's really quite elderly, her brother-in-law and her husband had been arrested. She had gone into hiding. Her husband fell sick, was released to a hospital, but other family members were still being held by the police. She was found and also arrested. She was the ex-health minister of Punjab. So in addition to Imran Khan, who was in protective custody overnight as opposed to being under arrest, that having been ordered the previous afternoon by the Supreme Court to ensure that he would arrive safely for his bail hearings. Now, 10 members of his political party are under arrest by the Pakistani police of various forces. While he was in the courthouse today, it became known that the police from Lahore were traveling to Islamabad with a arrest warrant. And then it became known that the Punjab police had also turned up at the courthouse, a large number of them, with an arrest warrant.
Mm-hmm.
So it was clear that, and the Interior Minister even said so publicly, that the second he leaves the courthouse, we're going to arrest him, unless the condition that you and I discussed 12 hours ago existed. So the first thing that the judges did was they looked at the case, the Al Qadir case, the big money and the university case.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So they gave him bail on that case for 2 weeks, 14 days. Okay. So he couldn't be arrested again for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that was the case. The warrant was issued on the 1st of May, which was odd because it was a public holiday, and it was executed whilst he was already in the courthouse on Wednesday in relation to yet another one of these cases.
Yes.
Okay. So during Thursday morning Pakistan time, don't forget that another 7 cases, including murder and terrorism, were announced against him and several of the party leaders, in addition to the jewelry case and in addition to the university case. I mean, there's like so many cases against him now that pretty much everyone's lost track of the exact number. Okay. Yeah. But this is exactly what they're trying to do, is that literally if his lawyers just make a paperwork screw up and don't apply for bail on one of the, I think it's now like 155 cases, because it was 148, and now there's another 7, so that's 155.
Yes.
No, I mean, not applying for bail or missing the deadline on 155 open cases, even if you've got 20 good lawyers, is very easy to do. Okay. And don't forget, they're not all in one province. They're in multiple provinces.
So they're literally... So they're trying to exhaust him, obviously legally, which is what you called lawfare.
Lawfare, yeah. Now, so the court knew that unless they gave him a blanket order, he was going to be arrested by one force or another, either the Punjab police, the Lahore police, or the federal police, the second that he left the jurisdiction of the courthouse. So what they did is they gave him a blanket protective order, which is exactly as I described.
Yes.
Right? And without boasting, you and I were the only non-Pakistani news organization in the whole world that was discussing that necessity and that level of detail. Okay? I mean, I've looked extensively and nobody else was presenting this key information and this level of detail anywhere close to real time. Okay. So just hours ago, that is what occurred, and they gave him that. But the key point was only for 5 days.
Yes.
And they literally said, right, because even the court couldn't keep track of all the cases. So they just said, any legal case that's outstanding against Imran Khan, you cannot arrest him for 5 days.
Yep.
Okay?
So we've got that.
So he's left the courthouse. There was the suggestion that he was going to speak at the protest that was announced yesterday, which is being done outside of the city limits, literally on a motorway, like a highway or a freeway, depending on what you call it in whatever country you're in, right? A big motorway junction. And the reason why they were doing it outside the city limits was because, as we discussed yesterday, this section 144, subsection 1, had been announced, preventing any demonstration in Islamabad of any gathering of greater than 4 people. Okay, so if he had done that within the city limits today, then that would have been yet another criminal offence that the current bail order, which was everything up until this afternoon Pakistan time, wouldn't have covered that, because they didn't give him blanket permission to commit any crime that you want for the next 5 days. They were like, you can't be arrested for anything that is outstanding so far.
Yes.
Okay, so he can't run around raping people, killing people, not paying his taxes, whatever, for the next 5 days, right? It was like, up until this point. So one, he has to be incredibly careful what he does. Two, he's only got 5 days. And three, it appears that he's going actually into hiding, because the party officials who haven't yet been arrested asked for all the membership to pray for his safety until he was hidden away, was the phrase they used. Okay? Now, the interior minister is hopping mad, and he said that they wanted to arrest him, that if he hadn't got protective bail, they would have arrested him, and that the government lawyers have been instructed to try and overturn the blanket bail decision. So they literally only need to succeed in one of the approximately 155 cases to say that he's a flight risk, or the sum of money is so large that he should have been detained. Okay?
Yes.
So the court will be closed from now, because it's like the end of their regular business day, right? The court isn't normally open on Saturday, but certainly though there have been exceptions made in the past, including at the Supreme Court, that has worked through Friday night and Saturday in emergencies, right? But it would be, given that the security situation is stable at the moment, there's not massive demonstrations in like a dozen cities across Pakistan, right? So it would be quite hard, assuming that any law applies and any process applies, which at this point is starting to become a big assumption, right? It seems that he's probably got a 48-hour respite. Okay, but as soon as the courts regularly reopen, they're going to make applications to have his protective bail cancelled. Now, it's short to start with. Okay, now the issue is going to be, obviously, he's going to be in a situation, and that basically was what we were referring to with the clip, is he's going to have to return with at least 3 police forces, and possibly at that point by about 10 police forces, all trying to arrest him in 5 days' time.
Yes.
Even assuming that it's not cancelled in the meantime.
Yeah.
Okay? And then, if the protective bail is renewed, then he's going to have to go essentially into hiding again, whether it's renewed for a week or for 2 weeks.
Now, this was a result. When was this a result of his meeting with President Alvi, or was
No.
this was after he got the meeting?
So this is after he got the meeting. So let's discuss that, because that I believe is very significant, and it also hasn't got much attention.
Yes.
So you will recall that the Supreme Court said that whilst he was in protective custody, that he was allowed to have up to 10 visitors, bearing in mind this was overnight. Okay? Now, what's incredible, considering that he's essentially an ex-politician with no elected office, and he was in the police facility, though not under arrest technically, right?
Yes.
That the president of the whole country, Dr. Alvi, went and spent over 2 hours with him. And he briefed him on the nationwide security situation. But that was the only thing that, and he asked him after his health, and he asked him, the pleasantries, how's your wife, how's the dog, haven't seen the kids in a while, right? That was the only stuff that was made public. But obviously that doesn't take 2 to 3 hours, to say how's the wife, right?
Yes.
So he was asked by journalists whilst the judges were being brought into the courtroom if he had done a deal with the national establishment, i.e., the president representing the military and the media, what in America we would call the deep state or the military industrial complex, right? And he just put a finger to his lips. He didn't verbally answer. So everyone in Pakistan is now speculating as to whether he has a deal or not. It was a cunning scheme. So maybe he has a deal, maybe he doesn't. Nobody but him, and maybe the 2 or 3 people that he spoke with after the president knows. It may just be in his head, and he hasn't told anybody, not even his wife. Okay.
Wow.
So there's a bit of like high drama there. Now, the government are hopping mad. One, that he was put in protective custody, and 2, now that he's been given protective bail, they're literally in a frenzy. So several of the government ministers at the National Security Council meeting that took place today proposed that his political party be banned. Now, they could either be banned, or they could be listed as a terrorist organization. There's kind of 2 levels, okay? And it seemed that they were, in the first instance, going for level 1, which was just to ban the party, without necessarily saying that any member, of which there are millions, were now members of a terrorist organization, which would subject millions of people, in theory, to arrest. Okay?
Yes.
So they didn't do that. And the 2 other big coalition parties, the PPP, which includes the current foreign minister, who's the son of Benazir Bhutto, who was also killed previously. Okay? It's a frequent occurrence, unfortunately, in Pakistani politics over the last 50 years.
Yeah.
He objected to that. And also the, I think it was the LMMN political party, they also objected to the PTI being outright banned. So because it's a coalition government, and those are 2 of the major political parties in the coalition, the Prime Minister couldn't force it through. And so no decision has been made on that. Okay?
Yes.
The internet is still shut down. So this is day 4 of the internet being shut down, right? Which is causing enormous damage to the economy. There's basically no e-commerce. People are having to use VPN in order to communicate, because a lot of not all of the service providers, but most of the service providers have been shut down, and Twitter appears to have been shut down in most provinces of the country.
Right. Now, so it's getting very hard to share information. So that's why we're saying for people who have got friends in Pakistan to share that information.
I mean, we have aspects of law that date back to British colonial times. There are some laws that are being employed that date back literally to 1899. Okay, but what is now happening is we've got politicians now trying to take sanctuary during the daytime inside courthouses. So that's pretty medieval, when people would take sanctuary in churches, because you couldn't carry a weapon into a church, and it was normally beyond the pale to arrest someone in a church, because you risked being excommunicated if you did that. Okay?
Yep.
Now, the next thing that we've got that's going on, that's very historical, is, you remember, I'm not sure you ever even had it in Australia, but certainly in Britain, hundreds of years ago, you would have town criers. Somebody would go ring a bell, gather all the people in the town square, and then they would make an announcement. Okay. So because the internet is down in a large portion of Pakistan, what they are doing, what the PTI, Mr. Khan's political party, is doing, is they're having cars that they would use during their election campaigns that have loudspeakers on the roof, and somebody's driving into one of the city centres and giving people news updates
Wow.
using the speakers on the election cards.
That's fantastic. Well, Simon, one of the big stories is this one here, where one of the information minister has threatened senior judges of the Supreme Court.
Yeah, but that was yesterday morning that she did that, and that story didn't hit the press until that case had already been dealt with. But she said that if the Prime Minister's house and army officers' house could be attacked and burnt, which did occur, okay, after he was arrested, then so that is what happened overnight from Wednesday to Thursday. Then she said that that could easily happen to Supreme Court judges' homes.
Just an incredible
So
thing to be able to say.
she didn't threaten to kill them or attack them, but she said, you know, if the situation is so bad in the country that we can't even protect the commandant of the garrison of Lahore or the Prime Minister's house, that at the time was empty because he was in Britain, though he's now returned, okay, then they couldn't be expected to protect the judges' houses. Now, to be clear, she didn't say my political party or the police or the army are going to go and burn your house down. What she said was, we couldn't be expected to protect you. But that's like the mafia, isn't it? They go into your business and they say, well, if you don't do this for us, then we won't protect you. It's literally protection money.
Yes.
So, but it's not clear whether that message had actually been received by the Supreme Court at the point they made their decision. If they were aware of it, then they certainly ignored her implied threat. But the implication was very clear indeed. And that's the state that we seem to be at, that you've literally got members of their Supreme Court, like the Supreme Court in England or America or Australia, being directly threatened by sitting government cabinet members.